listening to the Announcer's Table with Daryl and Ian. This podcast is presented by RingIcon.com, the social networking site for wrestlers, fans, promoters, and everything indie wrestling. Log on today and create your profile, and as always, enjoy the show.
Hey guys, it's Ian. That's Daryl. And this is Gimmick Builder. And this is the Announcer's Table presented by RingIcon.com. I'm sure you know that by now.
Yeah. Well, if you watched yesterday's show, you know we talked about rebranding and how to rebrand your promotion. And so today we're going to talk about how to rebrand yourself as a wrestler.
Yeah.
And what that entails and what you need to do.
Yeah, so just a quick overview of what we talked about yesterday. With rebranding a promotion, you know, that can be as simple as just changing a few colors and things like that to a whole logo design to a whole rebranding of the whole organization.
Yep.
But some of the things that can happen are simple rebranding of gimmicks and characters that your promotion has available. You know, so if you're a traveling wrestler, then you probably have your gimmick already developed, but sometimes that gimmick doesn't go over very well, or it's kind of lost its touch, you know. And so that's what we want to talk about today, is rebranding that gimmick into something that's going to start drawing or being pushed.
Yeah, exactly. Like one, you want to see your location, where you're at, what they have going on, all right, and kind of find something that if you're a heel, find something that is just going to rile the crowd up. All right, if you're a baby, you want to try and find something that is just going to get the crowd to pop for you. So it's just a matter of like judging your audience, seeing kind of what they like, what's going on in the real world kind of thing, and doing that. If you find that you're, like, say you've been using your gimmick for a couple of years, it's just kind of stale, you just want to do something completely different. Like, say you've been a baby for so long.
Right.
You might want to think of a heel gimmick, talk to the promoter about doing some kind of switch, and screwing over another top baby in the promotion or something like that. And then that gives you a chance to just change your whole gimmick altogether and just completely rebrand yourself as a heel, and vice versa. If you're a heel, you want to go baby, that gives you a chance to rebrand like that into something that could be, if you want to, I don't know, it just depends on like what's kind of popping at the moment. Right. And just kind of go from there. Like if you want to be more a faster kind of guy, so you want to go from like more slick look, more slick colors, so like that, and then kind of get the crowd up in you.
Oh yeah.
You may have to like, if you're a heel and you have like certain like facial hair or something like that, you might want to change it up a little bit. Change your haircut up a little bit. I mean, it just depends on like the territory you're in and what's going on, and try and find something that hasn't been done either before, which is probably going to be kind of hard, or at least in a long while.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I completely agree with you. Switching from baby to heel is always that's the best time to rebrand.
Oh yeah.
But also, if you're coming into a new organization that you haven't really worked very often before, rebranding yourself then is a great time. If you take a couple months off or a year or so off, and you come back, rebrand yourself, because what you were doing maybe a year ago isn't quite as relevant now. And so a lot of that can, like Daryl was saying, it can be as simple as changing the gear that you work in to even as simple as shaving your facial hair or growing facial hair.
Yep.
That's all a lot of simple things you can do for rebranding.
Something cool that I like is, where we come from, we know a couple of wrestlers who had a couple of different gimmicks. And obviously the other gimmicks were in hoods.
Right.
And so they had their like, their main gimmick, and then every now and then they just want to do something different, just to kind of be funny or whatever. They had that other gimmick where they would throw a hood on, and their costume would be different, stuff like that. That could be something you could try if you want to. if you're like a big hill and you like being the big hill, but you want to kind of see be that baby too, get a mask and create like either a funny gimmick, just a good baby gimmick, something like that. I mean, it's crazy.
Right. Well, I'll just throw out my example of this is that one of my favorites was actually a show we worked at for a long time, and one of my favorite teachers was a guy named Boyd. And
I was thinking about him.
Yeah, and he was two characters. He was his Avenger character he was called the Avenger, and he was a masked gimmick, that would talk trash and all this other stuff, in his mask. But then his other one was
the Nasty Critter.
The Nasty Critter, which his Nasty Critter gimmick didn't talk, which was his unmasked gimmick, which was, I guess, his primary gimmick, was where he didn't talk as the Nasty Critter. So, he could he could work two shows, but one gimmick he talked and one gimmick he didn't, so it worked really well. And he was a great teacher, and,
yeah, God rest his soul. The crazy thing is, his Nasty Critter gimmick, he didn't have a mask on. He had like a little bit of dirt on his face.
Yeah.
But he was so different that, like, if he came out in street clothes from his Nasty Critter gimmick, you couldn't put the two together.
Right.
And he looks the same, but it's just his actions and everything like that. Just like people would like not put the two together ever.
Yeah.
It took me a while, like until I saw like the change, because I was always out front, so I never paid that much attention. It took me a couple of shows. I'm like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I'm like, it got over on me, and I'm there in the action,
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if you could do something like that would be cool. If you don't want to change your whole gimmick and your whole brand,
right?
Because it's getting over, but you want to do something different every now and then. Like Shane Williams, he come out and he's like a big kind of just redneck dude, just kind of Southern guy. He was a baby. Everybody loved him. But he also had this other gimmick. He threw a hood on. It was still a baby gimmick.
Bonzo.
But, Bonzo. But he was so... he's funny anyways.
Yeah, it was
he's
quite funny.
He outside of wrestling, he's a hilarious dude. But he would throw this gimmick on and have like this tethered up pimps on and stuff, and he would come out and fall in the ring and fall out of the ring, and just was like... The whole gimmick was like this clumsy wrestler. And the crowd... I loved it. I loved watching it. He didn't do it very often. It was just kind of like if he just wanted to do something a little different. But everybody loved it. So, I mean, that's another way you can rebrand yourself.
Right.
Is decide to put on, a hood and just come up with a crazy costume or something and just do something a little different. Holy cow. TNA, Bad Influence, the cross tattoo right here.
Christopher Daniels.
He was the yellow guy, Mr. Curie or whatever.
I don't remember.
But that was a funny gimmick.
Yeah.
And so anytime he started...
Well, and the probably most well known was Owen Hart and the Blue Blazer.
In the Blue Blazer, yeah.
But is that style, switching back and forth.
Yeah.
But, that's just a good way to test out some other things, or to even enjoy yourself and do something completely different than what you normally do. But getting back to rebranding, if the whole idea of it is that if things aren't going, if you're not getting the pop that you were expecting, or that you really it just hasn't built as well as you thought it was going to build up to be, then don't be afraid to rebrand and to change up the way you present yourself, But always, if you do this, you always need to consult the booker that you work with, let him know that you're changing, or you would like to change some things up, and maybe he can give you some advice, or even they can build it into a story or something like that.
Yeah, or talk to some of the other wrestlers and,
and
and ask them, and especially some veterans, and don't be afraid to talk to some of the new guys, because they're still going to be like wrestling fans,
and they're going to have fresh ideas.
So talk to some of the new guys. I mean, some of their ideas may be cool, some of their ideas may suck, but you never know till you ask.
Another thing I wanted to mention was a big way to rebrand is to add a valet or manager to yourself.
that could change the whole dynamic of what you are.
Or move yourself into a tag team.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Right. So
or if you're in a tag team,
split
the tag team and just become like that just happened. In a promotion that we're familiar with, this very popular tag team, just they split, and now they're rebranding themselves, and it's a little different. It's exciting to see some of the talk that goes on for the show.
Oh yeah.
So, but I mean, just don't be afraid to try different things. Once again, if you're working like a home show, you want to talk to the booker or whoever's putting on the show, and let them know, hey, this is what I'm thinking. This is kind of getting stale to me. I want to try this.
Right.
So maybe they can give you. You don't want to just like.
Yeah, you never want to. Yeah, you never want to
step up to it. You might want to draw out a plan, and go from A to C or A to D or however many steps it takes. To kind of build up that whole. A cool way to rebrand yourself is just you're like this, you're just big baby, then all of a sudden you put on a hood, right? And you want to turn hill, you start working this hill and this new gimmick. And after like a month or so, however after you run your show, you take that mask off and then everybody like freaks because you're this big baby and now you're this hill and everybody instantly hates you. I mean, that's a cool way to go, or vice versa, however you want to do it,
Yeah, just remember that, one, you don't want to do it overnight. You don't want to come in one Saturday night and wrestle as one gimmick, and then the next week you completely confuse the fans and you're rebranded into something else. If you're going to do that, if you're going to do that, take some time off. Take a couple months off and then come back as that new gimmick, but have it reintroduced in a new way, if that's the way you want to do things. But yeah, just always remember that there should be a few steps in there, or at least a story to let the fans know, so they're not completely lost. So
it has to make sense.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So for rebranding, just remember, it can be a small rebranding or it could be a complete drastic overhaul. But just remember that keep it entertaining.
Yeah.
So, and if you need to go back to where you were, remember you can. If something's not working when you rebrand, go back to the way it was and see if you can continue where you left off.
Yep.
So that's pretty much it for Gimmick Builder today, and we'll see you next week. Actually, tomorrow for an interview. Check out tomorrow's interview.
Yes.
All right. See you.